Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Shri Shri Mata Vaicharan Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatarashati Shri Shri Mata Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto, chapter 5, text 32. I was told to choose a verse just after Mangalarati, so I came up with this verse, which probably every one of you know, so therefore we don't need to have it on the board. But also it's connected to congregational chanting and the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, and thought will be a good occasion with the preparation for the coming Sankirtan, Radha Deshmelos. So let's chant the verse. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam
Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam
Yagya Sankirtanam Yagya
Sankirtanam Prayai
Yajantihi Sumedhasa
Yajantihi Sumedhasa. Mataji? You don't have it on the phone?
I was just going to open it.
Anyone else? Okay, Krishna Varna. Repeating the syllables Krishna. Tvisha. With the luster. Akrishnam. Not black, golden. Sangha. Along with his associates. Upanga. Servitors. Astra. Weapons. Parshadam. Confidential companions. Yagyai. By sacrifice. Sankirtana Prayai. Consisting chiefly of congregational chanting. Yajanti. They worship. He. Certainly. Sumedhasa. Intelligent persons. Translation. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Purport. The same verse is quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, chapter 3, verse 52. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada has given the following commentary on this verse. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his commentary on the Bhagavatam known as Krama Sandarbha, wherein he says that Lord Krishna also appears with golden complexion. That golden Lord Krishna is Lord Chaitanya, who is worshipped by intelligent men in this age. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Gargamuni, who said that although the child Krishna was blackish, he also appears in 3 other colors: red, white, and yellow. He exhibited his white and red complexions in the Satya and Treta ages respectively. He did not exhibit the remaining color, yellow gold, until he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. Shri Radha Gopinath Jai. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna Varnam means Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam and Krishna Chaitanya are equivalent. The same Krishna appears with both Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he always engages in describing Krishna and thus enjoying transcendental bliss by chanting and remembering his name and form. Lord Krishna himself appears as Lord Chaitanya to preach the highest gospel. Varnayati means utters or describes. Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna and describes it also. And because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna and later describe it to others. He injects one with transcendental Krishna consciousness, which merges the chanter in transcendental bliss. In all respects, therefore, he appears before everyone as Krishna, either by personality or by sound. Simply by seeing Lord Chaitanya, one at once remembers Lord Krishna. One may therefore accept him as Vishnu Tattva. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna himself. Sankopangastra Parshadam further indicates that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes uses weapons to defeat the demoniac. But in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra, or weapon, to subdue the demons. Because he is all-attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him as his companions. His acts were uncommon and his associates wonderful. When he propagated the Sankirtan movement, he attracted many great scholars and acharyas, especially in Bengal and Orissa. Lord Chaitanya is always accompanied by his best associates like Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. The purport of Prabhupada continues. This is all from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami cites a verse from the Vedic literature that says that there is no necessity of performing sacrificial demonstrations or ceremonial functions. He comments that instead of engaging in such external pompous exhibitions, all people, regardless of caste, color, or creed, can assemble together and chant Hare Krishna to worship Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam indicates that prominence should be given to the name of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya taught Krishna consciousness and chanted the name of Krishna. Therefore, to worship Lord Chaitanya, everyone should together chant the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To propagate worship in churches, temples, or mosques is not possible because people have lost interest in that. But anywhere and everywhere people can chant Hare Krishna. Thus, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, they can perform the highest activity and fulfill the highest regulations, religious purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. And the last paragraph of Prabhupada's purport, Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a famous disciple of Lord Chaitanya, said, "The principle of transcendental devotional service having been lost, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared to to deliver again the process of devotion. He is so kind that he is distributing love of Krishna. Everyone should be attracted more and more to his lotus feet, as humming bees are attracted to a lotus flower. The incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also described in Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, which appears in chapter 189 of Dana Dharma Parva of Mahabharata. Shiva Jiva Goswami has quoted this reference as follows: Subarna Varno Hemango Varangash Chanda Nangadi. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. He has also quoted Sannyasa Krichema Shanto Nishta Shani Parayana. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyasa order and he is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalists, non-devotees. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Umagyana Timiranda Syagananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Stapitam Yena Bhuvale Swayamrupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadadikam Aneham Shri Guru Shri Ritapadakam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhama Sutti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the different incarnations of the Lord to Sanatana Goswami, if you remember, in Madhya Lila 19th chapter. And when he came to these sections of 11th canto, where the different appearances of the Lord are described in different ages, and especially the verses which described the appearance of the Lord in Kali Yuga and the symptoms, Sanatana Goswami paused and asked a question about the incarnation in Kali Yuga. And he was like indirectly saying, but from all the description it seems that it's you. Because that's what you are doing. You look like what's described, a golden color, and then you also do what is described. You propagate the congregational chanting. And Lord Chaitanya said, just leave this. We continue now with our discussion. Don't let's not be distracted. So, yes, in this verse, the Acharyas explain that very clearly is indicated that the Lord appears in Kali Yuga with a specific purpose to give the most unfortunate souls who are living in this age and suffering in hellish existence the most sublime love of Godhead through a very, very simple method of chanting together Lord Krishna's names. So Mahaprabhu exhibited this, of course, we know, right from his very early age when he was born. Very soon his parents and all the other associates and relatives and friends, it is described in Chaitanya Bhagavat that there was always somebody around Nimai in the room. There were always people, and they just couldn't stop looking at this astonishingly beautiful child. And here we heard that, and this is also the weapon of Lord Chaitanya. He was just mesmerizing everyone by his beauty. So they were always there, and the demigods like to make fun with these devotees of the Lord by just walking quickly, and they were just feeling the presence and hearing sounds, sort of seeing just a shadow, and they were saying, "Who's there? Who's there?" To harm the child, and then there was screaming, "Nrsimha, Nrsimha," and chanting the mantras for protection of the names of Vishnu, or Aparajita Stotra, the special mantras for protection, glorification of Durga Devi. So they soon understood that the child always cries unless you have to start chanting the names of Hari, Govinda, Krishna. And he was always expecting that somebody will chant. So that was an indication that Lord Chaitanya will later do that and induce everyone to chant. And even when he grew a little bit older, he was just 4 months and hardly crawling, he was very naughty and unstoppable. And when he was, nobody looked at, even for a short moment, he just, whatever he could grab, he smashed and spilled all over the place. Yogurt and milk and ghee and all kinds of, rice, and he threw everything. And when he heard his mother coming, he just lied down and started crying. And his mother came and, "What's happening?" And then everybody else came and, "Who did that?" And they concluded, this small baby cannot do all this. And then they immediately started chanting to pacify him, but they thought some ghost must have done all that, so we must again do something to protect the child. So he was playing like that. And of course later he was even more and more naughty. But when he transformed, after meeting his guru first in Navadvip, when Ishwar Puri came and stayed in his house for some time, and then later when he went to Gaya and met him and received initiation, Lord Chaitanya very soon exhibited the ecstatic symptoms of love of God after chanting the mantra which his guru gave him. And he was perplexed and went to his guru and said, "Why? I feel like I'm going crazy. I cannot control myself, and my body is exhibiting all these symptoms. What is going on? What kind of mantra you gave?" And then Ishwara Puri quoted a verse from Chaitanya, from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very famous verse that explains that devotee who attains love of Krishna, he exhibits these ecstatic symptoms without caring for anyone else. So he said, "My dear child, you have attained the most precious of all precious things very soon. So you're so fortunate." And then he gave him the instructions, go on chanting, but also give that treasure to everyone else. So this was a direct order from his guru, that Lord Chaitanya preaches this chanting. And as we know, when he started his pastimes, well, he came from Gaya, and then we know that all devotees of Krishna, the Vaishnavas, they were a little annoyed by the arrogant Nimai Pandit, who was always teasing them by trying to engage them in dry arguments and logical disputes, and he was defeating them always, so they were trying to avoid. But when he came back, he called a few of the associates in his house, and he told them what happened, and he just started crying and melted. And they were so amazed. So the news spread immediately. Everybody else said, "You know what happened? Our Nimai became Vaishnava, and not what kind of Vaishnava? He's the topmost Vaishnava." And then they went to spread this, and they went back the next day and started chanting in Srivas Thakur's house. So one day, while they were doing that for some time, one day Lord Chaitanya called for Haridas and Nityananda and told them, "Listen, I want you to do something. I have an order. You have to go to every house in Navadvip and ask 3 things." Do you remember what he asked them? To beg, as they were renunciates. So they were supposed to go to door and ask for things, for usually food. But he said, you have to ask for 3 things. Bhajo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. You have to tell them, please worship Krishna, chant Krishna's name, and follow Krishna's instruction. So Nityananda and Haridas, who were always eager to engage in pastimes, and then they started following that order. And as we know, it's described there in detail how the pious people and fortunate people said, yes, we'll chant Hare Krishna. And those who were envious and offensive and unfortunate, they refused. They said, who are these? These must be spies. They are dacoits, and they just go around the houses to look which house they should rob later. And of course they saw these 2 fallen brahmanas, drunkard, who were abusing each other and sometimes embracing each other, and at the next moment started hitting each other, Jaga and Madai. So when they inquired, they understood, oh, these are horrible, the sinners, and Nityananda Prabhu immediately decided, yes, we must deliver them so that my Lord, his name will become famous as the savior of the most fallen. So we know the story how they approached them and they said, please chant. And then Jagai and Madai, who are you? And then Nityananda said, I'm Avaduta. And then they became so angry and they got up and started chasing them. So it's really described in a very funny way in Chaitanya Bhagavat how they are running. In a number of verses, they are conversation while they are running. So they are running, and Haridas Thakur started complaining. I have escaped being beaten in 22 marketplaces. I somehow, by Krishna's mercy, I could live. But this day, I think that's it. I will lose my life. And why? Because of this crazy person who had these strange ideas to go and approach these horrible persons who were accustomed to killing cows even and people. And so he was criticizing Nityananda Prabhu. He said, why do you blame me? You have this master who is behaving like a king, although he is a brahmana, and he is giving orders. And he told us to do that, and I'm trying to do it, and then you're blaming me. He is to be blamed. So they were running and laughing like that. And after Jagai and Madai were delivered, we know that they gave up everything, and especially after this wonderful kirtan in which Mahaprabhu said, now you will see how I'll deliver them from all sins. And when he said that, and it started the kirtan, his body turned dark. And then all the devotees, they were astonished. They were looking at Mahaprabhu. And he said, why do you look at me like that? And Advaita Acharya said, you look like Krishna. Your color changed. Mahaprabhu laughed and said, yes, I took all the sins of these offenders and sinful persons who later on in the book is described how Yamaraj inquired what they did, what is their, from Chitragupta, what is their track record. And he said, don't ask me, we can't remember even, it's just unlimited sins. So Mahaprabhu said, I take that and I will absorb them with, and he says, and everybody can be free by chanting except those who criticize Vaishnavas. They'll get that reaction. It's in that chapter, Vrindavan Das Thakur really is emphasizing how dangerous it is to criticize and find faults in Vaishnavas. And so, yeah, they had this wonderful kirtan, they were delivered, and then later also the demigods joined, and then Yamaraj, when he heard about that, he fainted in his chariot, and then all the other demigods, what happened? And then Chitragupta described when he heard how Lord Chaitanya saved these two sinners, then he lost consciousness. So Shiva and Brahma, they started really ecstatic kirtan, and then Yamaraj came to consciousness, and they had this wonderful dancing and chanting. So everybody was full of ecstasy in love of God. Lord Chaitanya distributed that so freely. And later Madhai, remembering, because they became very strict Vaishnavas, they were chanting 2 lakhs, 2 times 6, 64 rounds, so 128. But still he was feeling very bad, remorseful that he hit Nityananda. So one day he approached him and said, my dear Lord, I cannot live. I just cannot live with this. I hit you, I caused you pain. And Nityananda just laughed because he was always in this very merciful mood, like a innocent child. He said, don't worry. What do you mean? I already forgave you, because what is to be considered of an offense of a child when he kicks within the womb of the mother? The mother never takes offense. She is happy. So you did something and I forgave you. But I can give you advice so you can be freed from this anxiety. You build a ghat, a bathing place, and then all the people who come to bathe in Ganges, you serve them. And so he did that, and people were so touched, so moved by this, and they were glorifying, of course, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda for their kindness. And that mood of unlimited mercy is shown to practically everyone. Even there is this story also in Chaitanya Bhagavat of the Dari sannyasi who was, Dari means a special kind of group who were basically tantrics, and they were engaged in this, doing the 5 things, the left tantra. We are following the right one. The right means what is following the Vedic injunctions, the Shastra prescriptions, and doing the Sattva Tantra. And the left means Dakshina is the right, and the left is the opposite. It means the opposite of the right way, or doing exactly what opposite of what the Shastra prescribes. So Shastra prescribes regulation and forbids eat, and things like that, drinking alcohol. So they do exactly the opposite. And the 5 things especially, meat, fish, wine, sex. What was the other? Something also abominable. So they're doing that. So this sannyasi had a hut near the Ganges. So one day, why Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda went to that place? Because there's a longer story, but Advaita Acharya was feeling always unhappy because Lord Chaitanya worshipped him as a senior. And Advaita Acharya wanted to worship Lord Chaitanya and to show him respect, but he said when he was thinking but I cannot do anything. This Lord Chaitanya comes and touches my feet, and I cannot stand up to his power. He's too big and powerful. I cannot match his power. I cannot defend myself. But I'll devise a means that I'll put him in his right position. So he came up with a plan that he will start preaching Mayavad. And then he said, then Lord Chaitanya will come and punish me, and then I will be in my right place as the servant. So he started giving classes. He made a publicity. I will start teaching now Yoga Vasishta. So it's a book, a conversation between Vasishta Muni and Ramachandra. It's supposed to give the highest truth and philosophical discussion, but it's a really strong impersonal leaning. And there was one devotee who somehow was exploring an online database of all kinds of books, and then reading everything, and then he came, Prabhu, I found this book Yoga Vasishta, and it's Ramachandra speaking, and I was like, yeah, this must be something interesting and important. I started reading, but then I felt there some things were really weird, you and me are one, and all that. And I said, you don't know, this is the same book we just mentioned, which Advaita Acharya started teaching. And Lord Chaitanya became so angry. And then he told Nityananda, while one day they were just walking in Navadvip, enjoying looking at their creation. And Lord Chaitanya said, listen Nitai, let's go and visit Advaita in Shantipur. And then, because they were always ready for adventures, Nitai said, of course, let's go. So they were walking, and in the midway, because it's some kilometers away, Shantipur, they came to this small hut, and Lord Chaitanya said, who is this? Because they were walking for already some time, and it was a noontime, and they thought, let's take a bath here, and maybe see who is there. And Lord Chaitanya asked Nityananda, and Nityananda said, there is one sannyasi. And Lord Chaitanya, if we are fortunate, we will see him. So they knocked, and this Dari sannyasi came, and then when he looked at them, he was completely mesmerized by the beauty of Lord Chaitanya, both of them, but Lord Chaitanya especially. He was just stunned. And he said, oh, please come, stay, I want to give you something. And they said, no, we just want to, have a short break here and take bath. No, come. And I'm so fortunate that you came to my house. And especially to Lord Chaitanya, he said, I bless you to have a long life, a big wealth, and a beautiful wife. And Lord Chaitanya was like, what kind of blessing is this? I don't want this blessing. Instead of telling me, I bless you to become a lover of Vishnu and Krishna, you're giving me all this material. And this sannyasi said, what is this now? What I heard before, now I see with my own eyes. When you teach somebody give a good advice, they become against you. And don't do that. I give with all my best intention, the best blessing of this young person, and then he's telling me I'm wrong. And Lord Chaitanya actually explained, no, listen, by this material achievements, actually, you become entangled. The real treasure is to become a lover of Krishna. And then this sannyasi came. Now I see, what is described in Shastra that will happen in Kali Yuga, I see with my own eyes. There's a small suckling boy, is teaching me, who have visited all the sacred places, I heard all the wisdom, I know what is best, and he's trying to tell me. And Nityananda said, listen, Swamiji, he's too young and inexperienced, don't take him seriously, we're all right, you are so great, we'll take, your advice and blessing. And then hearing his own glory, he was like, yes, okay, so please come in and I'll give you something. So they said, no, we have to leave, but he insisted, so he gave them jackfruit and milk. They offered it, and they were taking prasad. And then, because he was this left tantric, he came to Nityananda and said, listen, would you like to bring you some ananda? And so, because they didn't answer, he was like, don't you want some ananda? And Lord Chaitanya, and he was repeating. And then this wife of the sannyasi came and also was watching these two extremely beautiful, tall personalities, and she was just also stunned. And then he was like, you want some ananda? You want some ananda? And then she was saying, just don't bother them, let them eat, you know. And Lord Chaitanya was like, what is he referring to? What is this ananda? And Nitai said, he means wine. And Lord Chaitanya jumped up. Vishnu washed himself. So they jumped in the Ganges and they swam to Shantipur, which is a long distance, but they swam. When they are in the whole story with Advaita Acharya, that's another chapter. But Vrindavan Das Thakur says, this sannyasi, although he's really fallen and he was degraded, Mayavari, but he was not offensive to devotees. So he will not attain the goal in this lifetime, but he will be purified by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, who is ready to give mercy even to such fallen persons who are not offenders to the devotees and are not hypocrites. They don't present themselves as something else. And so that's Lord Chaitanya's magnanimity. His mercy is just really open. That's why we read this morning this song of Lochan Das Thakur, whose disappearance day is today. And Prabhupada really liked this song. Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Suhrida Vishvasa Kor. With great determination and faith, please worship these two lords, because what they gave was the most sublime in a way, in a method, in a form that is so accessible, so simple, and so blissful. Kevala Ananda Kanda. And that the path they gave is pure bliss. It's just so wonderful. And who hears about the qualities of these two most merciful personalities of Godhead, their hearts melt. Even Pashu Paki Jure Pashana Vidar, even when animals hear, birds hear, and stone, they hear their qualities, they melt. But then he says, Karam, if I'm so unfortunate that even if I hear about their glories and their extreme mercy, I am not attracted. Apana Vidhari, Pashana Vidhari. I'm so unfortunate that I'm not attracted, and Yamaraj is punishing me for my previous activities. And Srila Prabhupada explains, this is our misfortune. We have been given the greatest, most wonderful gift of love of Krishna in such an easy way to be attained, but we are not attracted. And if that's our misfortune. Because it seems like he says, well, this is my karma. Yamaraj is punishing me for my karma, that's why I'm not attracted. But how do we understand this? Devotees who surrender, they are supposed to be free from their karma, right? So why we don't have then attraction? The misfortune, which Lord Chaitanya also says in the verse of Shikshashtaka, Durdaivam Ihachini Nanuraga, I don't have attraction to the holy name because I'm unfortunate. So the Acharyas explain this misfortune is our attitude, offensive attitude to the holy name. Especially, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the pramada, inattentive, neglectful, and callous attitude, just being indifferent, which is due to, again, our misfortune, because we are attracted to something else. We are attracted to other things for us are more important, and then we get distracted and entangled, and our minds are lost when we don't hear about the wonderful activities of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Lord Krishna. And then we will not have attraction to hear and to chant. But still, if we have a little bit and we try a little bit, then, like also Vrindavan Dastar explains, if we just have some little attraction, some little feeling, even one tear comes when we hear about Lord Chaitanya, then Nityananda Prabhu becomes so inclined to give all mercy to such a person that our material life is finished. That's why also Lord Chandas Thakur prays in other songs which are also favorite to Prabhupada, Nitai Gunamai, Akroda. So different songs about glorification of Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya. They pray to that mercy, and Haridas Thakur also in Harinam Chintamani, specifically he prays to Lord Chaitanya to give him attraction and to remove this mad offense of inattention and indifference. And then we can gradually develop a little taste, especially by hearing about these devotees and their glorification. That's why it is so important to hear even just the names, like Krishnadas Kaviraj Thakur, when he ends the chapters in Adi Lila, describing the different branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. So many devotees are described there, and at the end he says, if somebody just hears these names, you don't need to do anything, you just have to hear these names, then you'll be freed. You'll be freed completely from all contamination, and you'll attain Krishna. All obstacles will be removed just by hearing the names. And fortunately enough, these chapters are recorded by Srila Prabhupada. He's just singing them. If you go in the archives, you put the chapter 9, 10, 11 of Adilila, you hear Prabhupada is just singing them. You can hear these names. And Lord Chaitanya, he loved to glorify the devotees, as described in the 15th chapter of Manya Kanda, and this is related to Lord Chandas Thakur's spiritual master, Narhari Sarkar. So we know that devotees from Bengal visited regularly when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and he was staying now in Puri. And this chapter is called Lord Chaitanya Takes Prasada in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So then devotees came, and Lord Chaitanya spoke with different devotees. And those from Kulina Gram, like Satyaraja Khan, he said, I'm just a fallen householder, I'm always busy with my materialistic thoughts. Please tell me, what can I do to be Krishna conscious? What is my duty? And as you remember, what Mahaprabhu said, you have to do 2 things. Nirantara Sankirtana, always chant together Hare Krishna, and actually 3 things, but the other is service. So Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Seva. We have to serve Krishna and his devotees. And then Satyaraja Khan said, oh, who are the Vaishnavas? So I can recognize and serve them. And what was the answer? Actually, this question repeated in different years, and Mahaprabhu gave more elaboration on it. But in the first instance in this chapter was Mahaprabhu said, whoever chants the name of Krishna is Vaishnava. And then he says that because the name of Krishna is so powerful that it purifies everyone just by chanting once, and then he quotes a verse which says that even you don't require initiation or preliminary purificatory ceremonies to start chanting. So then he glorifies the chanting. And then after finishing that conversation, he turns his attention to 3 devotees from that area, which is nearby Katwa, where Mahaprabhu took sannyas. It's just a few miles. That village is called Shrikanda. And it's still existing in Bengal, a little northwest of Mayapur. And still the descendants of these devotees live there. I went there some years ago when I was looking to find Gopinath. I heard many stories of different Gopinath deities, and so this one was a story about the deity of Mukunda Dasa. Mukunda Dasa was a very dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya. His brother was Narahari Sarkar, who was the spiritual master of Lord Chandas Thakur. So he was worshipping a Gopinath deity, and his son Raghunandana was when he was a small child, he was given this order by his father: I'm going now because he was a physician, and I have to go somewhere. Could you make the offering to Gopinath and make sure he eats? And Raghunandan said, yes, my dear father, I will do. So he made the offering, and he was waiting, but then he looked, and the food was still there, so he thought, oh, Gopinath hasn't eaten, my father will be angry. So he said, my dear Lord, please eat. Still the food was there, and then he started crying, please eat. So Gopinath agreed, all right, I will eat, but don't tell anyone. So he had everything, and then when his father, Mukunda Dasa came back, he said, oh, everything okay? Yes, could you give me some Mahaprasad? Well, he didn't leave anything, Gopinath. He ate everything. So Mukunda Dasa was, what happened? How is this possible? My son will never lie. So he was puzzled for some time. Then what he did, he told him after some time again to do it, but then he just returned and entered from another door, and then he actually saw how Gopinath was eating. And Gopinath then understood and he stopped. So I heard that story and went to find out this deity. And it was not easy. It's a small village, actually. And then I was looking from house to house, and people were saying, who, what? This house. So we went to this house. Yeah, this is Krishna. I said, this is Gopinath. Oh no, this is Madan Mohan. Oh, okay. So, but Gopinath. Oh yeah. So I went to another house, and so they said, no, I said, this is Gopinath. No, this is Govinda. So in different places. Finally, we found that house. He said, yes, this is Gopinath. And it's, it's their family house. But still, it was like an altar on a raised platform. So we're trying to see a little dark. But the old Pujari, he saw that we are so eager. He just took the deity and brought in front of us to see. He's a small book now. Very beautiful. So, this is still there in the Descendants. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in that chapter. 39th branch is Mukunda. It's Arangodandana is the 39th branch. Mukunda Dasa and Narahari Sarkar is the 40th branch. So then in the 15th chapter of Madhya Mahaprabhu approached these three and asked them, he says to Mukunda Dasa, Raghunandan is there, his son, and Narahari Sarkar. So he says, my dear Mukunda, tell me this. This is Raghunandana, he is your son. Tell me, is he your son or he is your father? Tell me who is who, so that I know the facts and my mind is peaceful. And Mukunda Das says, my dear Lord, he is the father, I am his son. And then Lord Chaitanya, yes, you're correct. Now, I'm happy that you said it. Why? Because Mukunda Das explained, because by his devotion, we all learn how to worship Krishna. And Mahaprabhu said, yes. The ones who invoke or help others remember Krishna, worship Krishna, they're in the position of Guru and Father. A very simple definition of Guru, who is, by whose influence, somebody worships Krishna. So that's Mahaprabhu's conclusion, that Raghunandana was the father. And then there's a very interesting verse that Mahaprabhu started glorifying the devotees, and he says, Bhaktara Mahima. When Mahaprabhu started glorifying the devotees, his glorifying the devotees. He had like 5 mouths. He loved the glorification of his devotees. He couldn't stop. So he said, and Mukunda Das. He glorified Raghunandan for his devotion and worshipping the deity as exemplary. And to Mukunda Das, he said, he appeared like just an ordinary person, like a physician. But his devotion is so deep that nobody notices. But even outsiders, sometimes they can figure it out, like his because he was a royal physician. So the Muslim king, he was sitting together with Mukunda Das, who is, by the way, according to Gaura Gunadesha Deepika, do you remember who is his identity in Vrindavan? He is Vrinda Devi. Yeah, yeah, Kunda Das. Vrinda Devi. And so he was just telling the king something about his health. You have to do this and that. But it was too hot, and then the servant came with a peacock fan to make a shadow and fan the king. And then just Mukunda looked and saw the peacock feathers, and then he just remembered Krishna in ecstasy. He fell from the platform. And then the king was so disturbed, he just went himself down and he said, "What happened? What happened? Are you injured? What is your problem? You have some disease?" He said, I'm fine. There's no problem. Actually, he said, "But no, there is something. You must have some disease." He said, "Yeah, I have some epilepsy. That's why, And the king was, Mahaprabhu, this is the story Mahaprabhu is telling, but the king was too intelligent. He knew that he has deep love of God. And then Mahaprabhu, so he, as usual, he gave them instruction and said, "So Mukunda, I tell you, you have to heal people in 2 ways. You give them health, their physical health, and you heal them from their material attachments. In other words, you give them Krishna prema." And then to Raghunandan he said, "You just worship the deity." And to Narahari Sarkur, he said, "You stay here with me and do Sankirtan of devotees." And Prabhupada had this wonderful purport. So we see 3 devotees, 3 different instructions. One to just do his job, the other is to worship the deity, the other is to just preach. And we should understand by this example that Lord Chaitanya gave different instructions to different devotees, but they're all the same. They're all part of the Sankirtan movement. So this Raghunandana, as he was still small, one time Abhiram Thakur, who was very amazing devotee of Nityananda Prabhu, and he was famous for being always ecstatic and giving Krishna prema through his, sometimes it says, stick or whip, to those who he touched with his stick, and they just by this touch they got Krishna prema. And he also didn't like fake devotees and fake shilas. So when he offered obeisances to a shila who was not genuine, people sell some stones in the name of shila, and that stone will crack if it wasn't real shalagram. And if you are a fake, hypocrite devotee, then your heart will crack. So he was famous for it. So Mukunda Dasa heard that Abhiram Thakur was coming to visit. So he was afraid, I don't want my son to see him. And he was just afraid somehow, I don't know what will happen. So he sent him to play in the neighbor's house. And then Abhiram Thakur came, and then they spent some time, and then he was leaving. He actually asked, "Where's Raghunanda? I heard about the glory of this devotee." And he's somewhere playing somewhere. Oh, don't worry. So then he left, but then when Raghunandan came and he heard that Abhiram Thakur was there, he said, "Wow, I couldn't see him." So he ran, and he actually met him, and then Abhiram offered obeisances. And then Mukundadasa was, what would happen? Because it was a scary thing. Even there's a story, there's a small booklet, I don't know who's the author, some later Vaishnava, about just the glorification of Abhiram Thakur. And he was offering obeisance not to Shilas, also to deities, and some deities cracked. So once I think this deity is still somewhere in Bengal, of Madan Mohan, he offered obeisances. And it said that this deity started sweating. Just completely sweat. And then after he offered obeisance, he was praying. And then Madan Mohan said, "Why did you do that to me? You know, I was so afraid. I started sweating." And Abhiram Thakur was, "My dear Lord, it's just to glorify you, you know, to teach others that you are real, that you are actually Krishna, and you can sweat." So he offered obeisance to Raghunandan, and nothing happened. And Raghunandan was so ecstatic, he offered obeisances, and they embraced each other, and then they started dancing so ecstatically, they were just spinning around. So Raghunandan's Nupura, or maybe it was Abhiram, I forgot, but one of the Nupura is these huge bells, which men also wore at the time, especially for dancing. So it flew from that village to a place a few kilometers away, or maybe 1-2 kilometers. It just flew. And where it fell, there is a lake. And it's still there, and this is a place where Narahara Sarkar did his bhajan, and this is the place where Lochan Das Thakur wrote Chaitanya Mangal. And it's still there. It's a wonderful place, actually. It's just in the middle of the field. But there is a small temple and a stone where it says that Lochan Das wrote Chaitanya Mangal. And in that book, he glorified Lord Chaitanya. It's 4 parts, and the first is just description of the descent. And I'll read just the introduction part, actually, in the beginning, how he starts that description. So this is the 12th song of the Sutra Kanda, verses 562 to 65. He says, Namaguna Sankirtana Vaishnavira Shakti Prakasha Korivi Ami Nija Prema Bhakti. Chanting the name and qualities of Krishna gives the energy of Vaishnavas. So if you want to have Shakti, that's the way. Just Namaguna Sankirtana. And this is Lord Chaitanya speaking. I will reveal these activities and pure devotional service unto myself. Eimade kali papa koribe sanghara sobe chala age pache nakara vichara. In this way, I will destroy all the sins in Kali Yuga. So all of you, my associates, go ahead and take birth on the earthly planet before my advent, and don't remain behind. Eve nama sankirtana tikshna khadgalaya antara asura jivera pelibe kartiya. Tikshna means very sharp, like tikshna dangshtraya, this Gayatri mantra from Nrsimha, with very sharp nails. So here is very sharp, kada means sword, with a very sharp sword of Nama Sankirtan. Taking the sharp sword of Nama Sankirtan, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all the conditioned souls in the age of Kali. But some will try to escape. Yadi papi chadi dharma dure deshe yaya mora senapati bhakta yaibe tathaya. If some sinful people escape, giving up this dharma and go in far-off countries, then my senapati bhakta will go there and deliver them. So we know who that senapati bhakta is. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions, reflections?
Where did this Srinivasa's verse come from?
This one?
Yeah, what is this?
Chaitanya, Mangala, Srishtikanda, 12th song. Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu.
In the beginning, when you mentioned Lord Chaitanya was so averse to hearing possibility that he could be the avatar for the age. And he was like, no, this is not a discussion we're having. And I was thinking maybe because there's a lesson we need to take there, that I know how much I do like to hear about myself being positioned and glorified and recognized. But that's what this whole material world is based upon. That it's just this, and because he used the word distraction, let's not be distracted by just talking about me. But I love that distraction. and it's why I'm here. It's this whole material world is just one big distraction from Krishna to me. And I don't care what it is, as long as it's about me. And so a devotee, as a practicing, I have to stop doing that and not make me the center of my thoughts, my discussion, and make Krishna it. So the whole battle is the battle of distraction from me to Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya is showing we have to be very serious about doing that if you want to be successfully Krishna conscious.
Yes, thank you, bro, for the comment. It's indeed a major distraction, because that's the frame of mind and mentality we are so used to be in the center. That's the main problem, actually, of the meaning of false ego. It's me. It's not Krishna in the center. So we even, as identifying as devotees, that still persist for a long time. And the subtle elements of Loba Puja Pratishta means that in varieties of ways. Lord Chaitanya, again in the same section of giving the instructions, says that this is, actually that's it, to Rupa Goswami, the next chapter, when he describes how the seed of bhakti is growing when it is sown and watered by chanting, but if we are not careful gardeners and leave the weeds, it will to suffocate it. It will not grow and not give the result. And he says there are unlimited weeds. I'll give you just 6 major ones. So 3 of them are these, the subtle Loba Puja Pratishta. And yes, it's Prabhupada, interestingly enough, translate them false prestige, false glorification, and false association. Not association. What do false puja or false expecting this. So it is there, false pride. So it is there, and he calls them. This is a false one, but there is a genuine one, and there is a genuine feeling of you could say pride, of being a devotee, a servant, and recognition for that. But actually, it's not you in the center, it's just a gratitude for being a servant of Krishna and his associates. And you feel very happy that you are identified with that servant. And if somebody recognizes that, you also feel happy. It's completely different of the feeling of this suffocating, pinching, materialistic false ego. The other is the real ego. I'm the servant. It's so different than when you, like I still remember, it was here, Hanumat Prashak Swami is giving the example of this Loba Puja Pratishta, and he says, we like you said, we like to hear that. And he says, a devotee enters, and then, because that's a senior devotee, has been for long soul, and others, they feel respect, and they, see, such and such enters, he's so, such and such enters, such and such great devotee enters, and then you hear it, and then you think, yes, that's me. But the focus is on the great such and such enters. The other is, the focus is, oh, Krishna and my Guru and the devotees are so wonderful, and I'm just so fortunate that they gave me, although I'm just this nobody, they gave me this opportunity. So it always goes to, the credit goes to the seniors, not to you.
And of course, if no one glorifies me, I'm going to glorify myself. And that's the thing, that's what japa doing. If I'm not thinking about Krishna, I spend 2 hours thinking about me and all the things I'm going to say and do, and it looks, I've dressed it Krishna conscious, but it's not Krishna conscious because it's not about it. I'm at the center, not Krishna. So even inattentive japa is just my desperate attempt to glorify myself. As sad as that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Therefore, we have to call for help. That's the meaning of preme dako. Dako means calling out, begging. You know, that's the mood of these verses in Harinam Chintamani. You know, Haridas Thakur, my dear Lord, please help me, especially while chanting, to have attraction and to forget about my own ego. Yes?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the lecture. I have a question regarding self-forgiving. And as Jagai Madai, they offended the Lord and they have problem to forgive themselves. But Lord was so merciful, and they said that the Lord was like a mother, He's always forgiving. Mm-hmm. So I know Lord see our true self, so He can really forgive. Mm-hmm. But we, as a neophyte, or we're sort of still progressing on this sadhana bhakti, mm-hmm. So how can we forgive ourselves? Because maybe it's still due to the false ego that we could not forgive ourselves. So could you please elaborate on that, please? Thank you.
Well, depends on about what it is. You know, we can't forgive ourselves for offending others, but for making our own mess, our own mistakes, we don't need to dwell on them. And in that sense, you could say we should forgive and forget, because that's not how we advance. Nothing will come out of that. The more we dwell on our either past mistakes or our present deficiencies, it's not the way to advance. We have to focus on our real ego, our real identity, our real self, and just invest the energy there. Then the other thing will be automatically solved. No matter how much we are struggling or, you know, being entangled in so many ways, just that's practical forgiveness, actually. Otherwise, you know, this modern type of self-love and things like that, forgiving. Yes, you can repeat yourself, I forgive myself, but actually the more we advance, the more we can't forget that we are coming from this very unfortunate place and situation, having done all kinds of nasty things. So that remains, and then we are aware of that. The more we advance, but it's not impeding our surrender to Krishna. It actually is propelling it. It's called dainya. It's real humility, and therefore we hear these astonishing statements which we can't imitate, but Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is telling in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am a Lord and a worm in a stool. So, you know, if he thinks like that, you might say, well, he hasn't forgiven himself. That's why he's trapped in this low self-esteem. But this is the natural humility of a very advanced devotee. And there is this wonderful prayer by Sanatana Goswami, which Rupa Goswami quotes. It's a beautiful verse quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as illustration of one of the qualities of the symptoms of a person on the stage of bhava. It's called Ashavanda, or Prabhupada's translation, hope against hope. It means like, although you realize how you're fallen and undeserving, you still have a chance because Krishna is so kind, especially Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. that you are hopeful, you are actually very hopeful, you're certain. That's determined hope, or hope against hope. And this verse describes, Sanatana Goswami says, I don't have this and this, I don't have proper education, I don't have knowledge, I don't have devotion, and above all, I come from such a fallen background, but still, my Lord, I have hope that because you are so great, that you give me your mercy, and that hope gives me pain. And you can wonder, why is that painful? Because this is how a pure devotee feels. It's a blissful pain, actually, because it makes you remember Krishna in that mood of gratefulness. And you could say that is a kind of a self-forgiveness, because you remember your past, or even your present mistakes and fallen situation, but still you're determined and you're very hopeful for Krishna's mercy. And that's the practical forgiving of your position. I hope that answers. Any last?
I heard a nice memory yesterday of Bhadra Narayan, and I think it was related, but now I forgot what it was related to, about the punishment. I think Lord Chaitanya being annoyed with his devotee. But so Bhadra Narayan, he was guarding Srila Prabhupada's room in Los Angeles, but it was dark outside and light inside Prabhupada's room. It was 1 o'clock or so. He saw Prabhupada waking up, getting his books, and he was chanting very softly because he didn't want to attract Prabhupada's attention. He wanted to be a proper servant and stay behind. So then he saw Prabhupada taking a book and taking this book, and while he was watching this, he was feeling more and more ecstatic. So his chanting became louder and louder, but he didn't realize it. And then one point he saw Prabhupada taking his water cup. So he thought, oh, Prabhupada's going to drink his water. And then Prabhupada just chucked it out of the window and he got all wet. So then he realized, oh, I was actually disturbing my spiritual master instead of serving him.
Yes. Thank you.
Just one little thing about, you said forgive and forget. And then you mentioned how a devotee is remembering his deeds, and he feels, he's feeling of pain, that he's not there yet. But so then I was hearing some lecturers speaking about it. It is okay to forgive. You can understand that you can make mistakes, but don't forget that, because then it is helping you not to do it again. If you forget it, you can fall into the situation that you're going to do it again, but you use it as a protection, that you don't forget, that this is there, you can take responsibility for that. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it's a little artificial, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget it, but also don't dwell on it, because you just focus on Krishna, and when these memories come, this awareness, we become more attracted to Krishna, because we realize his sweetness and his kindness. In that way, remembering this is bringing us closer. But if we remember and then we become depressed and discouraged and forget about Krishna and say, it's hopeless, no chance, and then we stop, then this is misfortune, this is this tamaguna. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.